Welcome into One-on-One. We're back from spring break. I'm Reese Spencer, joined by my co-host Logan Mosier, live on Suddenlink Channel 112 and live from Studio 318. We'll be joined by Wade Haugen here in a little bit to talk about how the Cowboys did the NCAA Wrestling Tournament. I'm getting him some college basketball. Rob Gronkowski is retiring.
Yep.
Mike Trout could fund the federal government for about 15 minutes. It is a lot happened while we were gone. And by the way, Robert Kraft is truly sorry for what he did. But we will start with college basketball. Obviously, March Madness is underway. Not a ton of madness so far.
Not quite.
Not
almost.
real.
We almost had some yesterday.
Well, we'll start with that game. So Duke, the number 1 overall seed, takes on number 9 UCF in Taco Fall, the 7-6 monster, and it came down right to the wire. I want to get your scope of the entire game, then we'll talk about that last 5 minutes.
Okay. I
get on Twitter, and the Duke is like the Patriots. They're like the Yankees. Everyone hates them because they've won so much, or they're elitist almost.
Right.
They're complaining about the refs. I thought the refs were bad, but they were bad both ways. Taco Fall probably should have been fouled out 5 minutes before he was.
Yeah.
And then there's a shot clock violation that gives UCF the lead, and they say there's not conclusive evidence to overturn it. Listen, I have to wear glasses. I don't have the best eyesight, Logan.
Yeah.
That was a shot clock violation, and it was easy to see.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought this was going to be an interesting matchup going into yesterday because, Reed, do you know how tall the tallest guy on Duke's roster is?
6'9"?
6'11", Marquise Bolden. And he's probably closer to 6'9". None of these guys look very big, and none of them can shoot. No one on this team can shoot. I don't know how good Duke actually is. Obviously, they're good enough to beat, the lesser teams. But I thought UCF was an interesting matchup just because of their size and the way they like to shoot. Plus, their head coach, and his name has been escaping my mind all day. But
UCF's?
Yes.
Dawkins?
Yes. Him and his son, Dawkins was a coach at Duke for a long time, an assistant coach. His son grew up going to the games, going to practice, stuff like that. And they know the system. So I thought the coaching, along with the way the players were, obviously Taco Fall was the big name, being that he's a gigantic beast of a human. But
7'6" isn't that tall.
It's pretty tall. But he didn't get dunked on. Did not get dunked on.
He did not get dunked on, and that's why this game was so interesting to me, because that's where Zion, he lives above the rim.
Right.
And he just goes in, and everyone gets out of his way. And Taco Fall said that before the game, he's not going to dunk on me. And I'll give Taco Fall credit. You don't typically see a guy that's 7'6" that has the body that's grown out with 7'6". I mean, he doesn't look unproportioned. I mean, he's 7'6", but he looks the part.
Right.
And he can be physical, and he gets up and down the court. I'm very impressed with Taco Fall. I don't know what kind of NBA career he will have.
Yeah.
But for being that tall, he's relatively athletic. As you don't see that. And so for him to kind of just stand under the basket, that took Duke's strength away.
Yeah. Zion still at 32, so he didn't take him out of the game. But he like you said, he met him at the rim. He wasn't willing to back down. And I thought he did an okay job defensively. I agree with you when you said he should have fouled out probably about 5 minutes before he did. But, I don't know what kind of NBA career he'll have. I don't know what kind of skill set he has besides being tall and being able to run the rim. But I thought, he did his part, and, it was a very interesting game. It was definitely the most exciting game we've had of the whole tournament. What would you tell me if we had known each other, let's say in high school, and I told you Duke played 3 freshmen for 40 minutes in an NCAA tournament game? What would you tell me? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Coach K doesn't do that.
Not 5 years ago he did. Yeah. But now that does surprise me with Coach K.
Yeah. It's just the way the whole R.J. Barrett 40 minutes, Zion Williamson 40 minutes, and Trey Jones 40 minutes. That's insane. Cam Reddish probably would have played 40 minutes if he had not been in foul trouble.
Right. And that's where the refs, and listen, you have to call the fouls. And I get letting them slide, but you can't let Taco Fall's last one slide.
Yeah.
And there are some with Cam Reddish you can't let slide. By the way, I can't stand the running and stopping foul. And Dawkins was doing that all day.
Yeah.
That's what got Cam Reddish and Zion in trouble. But if they would have gone to overtime, they were in real trouble because you had Cam Reddish and Zion Williamson with 4 fouls. So it could have got very tricky. But Trey Jones, only 11 points. Cam Reddish, only 13. Zion did have 32, and it was enough by 1 point. But they need to shoot better. But I don't
think they can.
That'll be interesting because, listen, when Duke has been at full strength, they haven't really been challenged. Their losses, they lost to Gonzaga.
That's their only full-strength loss.
Because they lost to North Carolina without Zion. And you go into this, you lose by 1. I'm with you. I don't think they can shoot well enough to get themselves out of trouble, but I also don't think that there's going to be another presence. Listen, I don't think Duke's going to win a national championship, but there's not another presence beneath the basket that is going to give them problems. Everyone from now on out will step out of the way as Zion Williamson, just like they have every game up until this point. But Taco Fall 7'6", and he has the body. He didn't have to move out of the way.
Yeah.
But even when he did, he still fouled out. And Zion Williamson is absolutely incredible. He is not good from the free throw line.
No.
You know what he reminded me of, and maybe I'm totally irrational thinking this. When he went to the free throw line yesterday to tie the game, and obviously he misses it, but Cam Reddish goes up, gets him the 2 points, and they take the lead. I was thinking of LeBron in the 2011 finals because this guy is supposed to be unstoppable. He's supposed to be the greatest thing we've ever seen. He had at the free throw line to tie the game to extend his college career. Now, I get it. It works out. Only Duke it works out this way. But he missed a free throw shot, and he's still incredible. But I just had flashbacks to the American Airlines Arena in Dallas, and it's like, maybe he's not invincible.
Yeah. His biggest weakness is his shooting, whether it's from the line or from 3. Not a great shooter, but you hope he can improve on that. But you mentioned Trey Jones. Trey Jones, he plays 40 minutes, but he, like you said, only 11 points. I feel like he makes his impact in ways that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. He's
an incredible defender.
I was about to say, he is probably, maybe besides Zion, their best defender. And I only say Zion would be better because he can protect the rim. But Trey Jones is an excellent perimeter defender. Needs to work on his outside shot, only 1 for 8 from 3. But I feel like that's where this Duke team has value. They can't shoot at all. I don't know. Cam Reddish maybe can kind of shoot, but he has trouble staying on the floor apparently in big games. And they only play 2 guys off the bench usually, which is I don't think that's a way to win a national championship is playing only 2 guys off the bench for a combined 24 minutes. But
the Oklahoma State special.
I was about to say they took a page from our playbook. It didn't work out too well for us, but it's working out for Duke right now. I'll be very interested. I think Michigan State is going to be the next team to stand up and maybe not totally keep Zion out of the paint, but I think Michigan State is who's going to take down Duke.
Well, it will be interesting. So we'll move on from this game, but really quickly, the last 10 seconds of that game, they have two shots right there. Aubrey Dawkins. It was inside the rim, and it just decides to roll out. That is going to live with Aubrey Dawkins for the rest of his life. But that was an incredible finish. That was really the only
He had a great game.
Yeah, he did. 32 points matched Zion Williamson as well. He was 5 of 7 from beyond the arc. So that he played well enough to win.
Yeah.
Just didn't have it there at the end. So Duke survived 77-76 over number 9 UCF. That's really the only maddening game we've had so far. Kansas State, a bit of a disappointment.
Gosh.
They didn't have
kind of a disappointment, Reed.
They didn't have Dean Wade, so that kind of took the air out of them. But I'm with you. Number 13 UC Irvine, who a team that wasn't going to make the NIT if they didn't win the Pac-12 tournament in Oregon. Now they're in the Sweet 16, beats UC Irvine 73-54. So my biggest disappointment would be Kansas State. Even without Dean Wade, you win the Big 12. You have got to beat 13-seeded UC Irvine. You have got to.
Yeah, Kansas State's probably up there for me. Another one, maybe Marquette or Mississippi State, but those 5-12 matchups are always good for upset. Yeah, Kansas State, they destroyed my bracket, Reed.
Kansas State?
Absolutely.
I believe I didn't have them advancing past the second round. I had them losing to Oregon. No, Adam losing to Wisconsin, so it doesn't really
Wisconsin's
matter.
up there too. Wisconsin's up there for a disappointment.
To the old 12-5, we had two 12-5s. St. Louis goes down to Virginia Tech.
We almost had 3.
Almost. I mean, you're looking at this. I'll just go through the seeds that are left for you. 1-4, 3-2, 1-4, 3-2, 3-2, 1-5, 3-2, 1-12. So there's a 12 and a 5. The rest of them are 4 seeds and up. Kansas State loses to UC Irvine. Duke escapes. But outside of that,
nothing.
There's not been a game that has dominated social media. I mean, North Carolina has dominated.
Yep.
Auburn, but, I mean, I get 5 beating 4 Kansas, but no one believed in Kansas. No one was shocked to see that.
Yeah.
And Auburn, when they shoot lights out, can beat anyone.
Right.
So my biggest disappointment would be K-State, and your biggest disappointment was
it's K-State.
K-State. So who's your biggest surprise?
Honestly, I think it's LSU. I know they're a 3 seed, but I picked them to lose in the first round. They don't have their coach. I think they lost. I think they definitely lost one. They might have lost 2 players. I can't remember. And I wasn't sure they were that good to begin with. And then you go through the whole FBI investigation. Your coach won't even talk to your school about the potential tapes that have him committing a crime.
Yeah, that might be the most ridiculous way to say you're innocent. It's like, will you at least talk about it? No, but I should coach.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way this works.
Yeah. I thought that was going to kind of tear that team apart, but here they are, about to play Michigan State. When is that? Would that be Friday?
Thursday, I believe.
Okay. So yeah.
Or no, they do play Friday. You're correct.
So
Friday at 7:09. They'll get throttled by Michigan State.
I think so.
They barely beat Yale. They barely beat a decent Maryland team. I mean, they've won by 7 combined points in the 2 games. My biggest surprise so far is Oregon, because they were not supposed to make the NIT. I mean, they were a joke.
Yeah.
They didn't make the tournament last year. They win the Pac-12 tournament. They beat Washington in the championship game. Washington is also already out of the tournament, loses to North Carolina. But they were maybe destined for the NIT. They beat Wisconsin by 18 points. They beat UC Irvine by 19 points. Now they're matched up with Virginia. And
I think they will score less than OU did against Virginia.
Yeah, the Sooners are out. Only one remaining Big 12 team past the first weekend, and that is Texas Tech. And I really don't think anyone is surprised by that. But Virginia versus Oregon. I'm going to go down. We have a couple minutes left here before we get out of this segment. I'm going to go down the remainder of the bracket.
Okay.
You're going to tell me who's going to win, and then obviously I will tell you who I think is going to win, and tell me why sort of quickly.
Okay.
So Duke, Virginia Tech, a 1 versus 4 ACC rivals.
Give me Duke.
Duke and why?
Because they're Duke.
They're Duke. I will take Duke.
I don't think Virginia Tech's a really good 4 seed.
LSU versus Michigan State.
Give me Michigan State.
Yeah.
Tom Izzo is Mr. March at this point.
I will take Michigan State. Well, he's very mean to his players. So Mr. March, but man, wow. How he is still coaching in 2019.
That's the most madness we've seen was Tom Izzo.
Gonzaga, Florida State.
Gonzaga. I think they're going to win it all.
You think the Zags are going to win it all?
I think they're the most complete team. They're the only team that beat Duke at full strength.
I filled out 2 brackets this year, and there's a lot of consistency in my Final Fours in both brackets. Florida State is the main consistency. Ooh. They can guard.
Okay.
They will beat Gonzaga easily. 12-point win for the Seminoles. Leonard Hamilton, they are incredible. They can defend. They're long, and they can shoot. Give me Florida State. Texas Tech, a 3 seed versus number 2 Michigan.
This one's pretty tough. Give me Texas Tech just because I feel like the way they've been playing just for however long, ending the regular season on, I think, a 9-game winning streak, winning a share of the Big 12 title, playing really well so far. And I think Michigan was playing really well at the beginning of the year, but they've kind of fallen off. So give me Texas Tech.
Michigan's beaten Montana. They've beaten Florida. 2 teams that really scared no one. Florida, they beat Nevada, I get it, but Michigan, when they've been faced with the top teams, especially Michigan State, they haven't been able to win. I'm going to take Texas Tech as well. I just think they're going to overwhelm Michigan.
Plus, I think Texas Tech has the best player in Jarrett Culver.
Right.
And that helps.
That does always help having the best guy on the floor. Number 1, Virginia versus number 12, Oregon.
Give me Virginia. This is a game no one should ever watch because I'm pretty sure there will be a combined 90 points scored.
I'll take Virginia as well. We're going to run through these really quick. Purdue, Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee.
I will take Tennessee as well. North Carolina, Auburn.
I want to take North Carolina, but if Auburn's lights out shooting, give me Auburn. I'm going to take UNC, though.
It's a gamble when you pick Auburn because you need that lights out, and they've done it twice now. Almost lost that first game. But for the sake of this, it's madness. Take Auburn. They shoot well. Number 3, Houston, Kelvin Sampson versus Calipari, maybe the most 2 unlikable guys in college basketball. Who you got?
Give me Houston.
Houston. I'm going to take Houston as well. I mean, they're hot. I don't believe in Kentucky. I never have, and I never will. Just because, I mean, Coach Calipari really has won 1 national championship. What's he really proven? Been to several Final Fours. All right, we got through that. We've got our Elite 8 that we can run through on Wednesday. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be joined by Wade Haugen to tell us what happened in Pittsburgh at the NCAA Wrestling Tournament. We'll be right back after this.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past.
Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis.
You can do anything.
With nearly 100-degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
Welcome back into One-on-One. We are joined now by Wade Haugen, Ocala beat reporter for the Oklahoma State wrestling team. The Cowboys finished 3rd out in Pittsburgh at the NCAA Wrestling Tournament. They finished with 84 team points. They get 2 national runners-up and 5 All-Americans. Just quickly sum up the performance from the Cowboys in this tournament.
You know, I thought it was a good performance. I do. I think with the year they had an undefeated dual record, and so, you know, some people may think 3rd place is maybe a disappointment, but at the same time, I think when you look at what all this team went through this year with the injuries and, you know, an All-American sideline still, you know, that didn't get to wrestle, I think overall 5 All-Americans, and you had two guys wrestling in the finals. You know, you were able to see Preston Weigel, All-American, Derek White, All-American for the first time. I think overall it was a good season. I think, you know, if you asked them, they would probably tell you that they wanted it to be a little better at Nationals, but that's because with OSU Wrestling, I mean, you know, they have really, really high expectations, and when you have as high expectations as they do, you know, it's going to be hard to meet those every single time, and so I think overall, I think it was a really good season for them.
Well, there's a ton of different ways we go. I will leave the controversy till the end because that is an interesting topic.
Right.
The guy that impressed me most at 184, Dakota Greer, I mean, 7th place was not supposed to happen when you're a 26 seed. You're a 26 seed for a reason. But he beats number 2, number 3, and number 7 on his way to earning All-America status. That's pretty impressive for a guy who was a 26 seed.
Yeah, it was awesome to see Dakota do as well as he did. Seeded 26th in a 33-man bracket. Like you said, beat the number 2, number 3, number 7 seeds. And, the thing about Dakota is throughout the year, he was kind of one of those guys who was swinging in between weights because of injuries. He wrestled at 197 most of the year. It was also his first year here. He was a transfer from Edinburgh, or Edinburgh, however you pronounce that, up in New York. One of those two. And he mentioned multiple times throughout the year, even kind of like halfway through the season, how he was still getting used to things, still kind of trying to, settle in here. And so for him to be able to do what he did, you kind of look at, if Dakota Gear doesn't do what he does, maybe they don't finish third. You never know. I mean, he really bolstered the team standings a lot, and 26 seed, and he finishes 7th, and now that gives him a lot of momentum going into next year. He wrestled at 184, but he's gonna be their 197 pounder next year is what it's looking like. So I think that was a great. He was obviously there's a few different bright spots, but he really stood out.
Nick Piccinini at 125. He's a number 2 seed. Spencer Lee kind of gets his revenge on him. He finishes 5th. Do you think that's a bit of a disappointing end for Nick? Because he did, listen, he pinned Spencer Lee. There was some talk whether Spencer Lee was injured, but he gets his kind of the monumental pin at the duel against Iowa. And then he goes and gets 5th when he's a number 2 seed. Do you think that's a bit of a disappointing finish for him?
Yeah, I think a little bit, and I think he'd tell you that. But, at the end of the year, he's an All-American. He's 34-2, and, just fell short in 2 matches there at the end. I mean, the thing about when you get down to the semifinals and then those late consolation matches, I mean, the margin for error and the difference in those wrestlers is so little. I mean, you look at 5th place and you think, well, he was the number 2 seed. How does he finish 5th? Well, all those guys in the top, 5 or 6 seeds are really good. I mean, they really just are. And so, it's a matter of just a few things maybe going his way instead of against him, and you may be talking about Nick winning a national title or, being a runner-up, whatever, or 3rd. So I think, finishing 5th, he would have liked to have finished a little higher, but also, last year he did an All-American, and so this year he All-Americans, finishes 5th. He'll be back next year. You would hope for his sake there's maybe a natural progression there. You go from not All-American, now he's an All-American. Maybe next year he can make that next jump. And, he will be a contender for the national title next year. I mean, he was this year. So I expect him to use that as kind of motivation. That kind of seems to be the type of guy he is, to use things like that as motivation and come back pretty strong next year.
One of the guys.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
One of the guys that, maybe wasn't one of the favorites going into the start of the season, Derek White, he ended up finishing 2nd, made his first All-American team. Kind of talk about what this season was like for him.
It was a great season for Derek. Derek has had a very interesting career. He went to, first off, in high school, like at one time he was wrestling like 123 or something. I mean, just crazy. Now he's OSU's heavyweight. So just in that instance, that's just crazy to even think about. Right. And then, he goes to Nebraska for his first 2 years and then decides to come to OSU. He transfers to OSU, but he's a walk-on. His first year at OSU, he wasn't even on scholarship. And so, now you look his last year, here he is as the national runner-up, and before this year, he'd never even All-Americaned.
Right.
So I think overall, Derek, he got roughed up a little bit in that finals match, but, overall, he had a great year. Best finish for an OSU heavyweight since 2010 when Jared Rochalt was the runner-up. So, it was a great year for Derek. I think, all year long, everybody realized he was doing really good, but at the same time, he'd never placed. He'd never gotten that All-American status, and so it was kind of like, well, we got to wait and see if he takes care of business when it matters, and he did. He didn't end up winning the national title, but only one guy ends the year happy, so, it's tough.
Yeah.
Well, he talked about Derek White and kind of the interesting journey he had over 4 years. Preston Weigel had an interesting journey this year. He was hurt. He fought his way back. He, impressed the Big 12. He finishes 3rd. For a guy that dealt with so much, yeah, you're right. Only one guy finishes happy. But when you dealt with everything that he dealt with and all the adversity that he faced, finishing third is very impressive for Preston Weigel. A very talented wrestler, but to fight everything he fought to finish third in the country, that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And, Preston, he lost in the semis to Colin Moore of Ohio State, who was ranked number 2, a tough matchup, and just lost. But, he ends up being a 2-time All-American. And you're right. Coach Smith said after the Bedlam, he wrestled in Bedlam this year and then didn't wrestle all year until Air Force, I believe. So he was out for, an extended period of time. And Coach Smith said the week after Bedlam, they were kind of like, yeah, he's probably done. So, whatever injury he had, I believe it may have been to his quad. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it was a quad injury. But they thought he was done, and he comes back and to do what he did, finishing third, finishing with a win. It was a great end to his career. He All-Americans for the second time, as I mentioned, and I think Preston, I really noticed it in Big 12s. As the season gone on and as he was kind of ending or getting towards the end of his career, I think he really started realizing just how special it was that he was wrestling, and just you could tell that he was just enjoying being there. He mentioned multiple times that it was just fun, and a lot of the times with wrestling, like,
right,
they're not just sitting there looking at you smiling like, hey, this is fun. It's a lot of work, and those guys commit a lot of their lives to it. But you could tell Preston was just enjoying what he was doing, enjoying being able to actually wrestle, not be injured. And so for him to go through all he did in his career and then to finish up third, that was a really cool way for him to end.
Well, you could tell how emotional he was after Big 12s. He had tears to his eyes, and you were almost, even if you didn't know him, you were happy for him because everything that he'd faced. So one guy that let's go to the controversy, Dayton Fix.
Okay.
When you have a freshman campaign like he did, and you wrestle as well as he did, and you were as humble as Dayton Fix is, you don't have to be an Oklahoma State fan to be kind of ticked off that his season ended this way. What were those refs thinking? Because this ref, earlier in the tournament, had kind of, refused to give him some takedown points. That was a headgear pull. That was a penalty. I don't know. It's kind of, did you watch the Duke game yesterday? It's like, how does anyone with 2 eyes and common sense not think that's a shot clock violation? How does anyone with common sense not think this is a penalty?
I don't know. And watching it live, they start saying, hey, it's a headgear pull. And I was thinking, okay, they're going to review it. And it's like, they showed the review, and even the announcer, one of the announcers was like, oh, he didn't lock his fingers in, that's not a headgear pull. And then the ref calls it and he says no, and it's just like within 15 seconds, they're done with it.
Championship title on the line.
That's, if they sit there and look at that for a minute and a half, 2 minutes and decide that, I can understand. But I'm sitting there, and the first time I saw the replay, I said, oh, that's a headgear pull. And then the announcer goes, no, he didn't lock the fingers, and then before you know it, the ref's announcing it, and that's it, and I don't understand the stalemate either with 9 seconds remaining. He's got him double-legged, locked in. He's about to ride it out for national title is what it looked like. You never know, but 9 seconds left, and then a stalemate's called, and I didn't understand it. That's kind of one of my big pet peeves is blaming the refs for a game.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's a little different in wrestling because, in a football and basketball game, you have so long for things to happen.
Right.
There's so much that happens within a game. In wrestling, you're dealing with 7 minutes. And within those 7 minutes, there's not stuff happening all 7 minutes. A lot of that match was those two feeling each other out. Mm-hmm. And, there wasn't, it was a low-scoring match, a tough match. You hate to say, the refs kind of decided that one, but, just go to OSU's athletic website and you have it pulled up, and I got to credit the communications staff, the wrestling communications staff, because they did a great job of
you can see here. The fingers are locked right there. I can see it.
The home picture is of the controversial call, and Suriano of Rutgers, who's a great wrestler. Him and Fix, that's been an awesome little rivalry to watch this year. They had the real controversial match up at Rutgers when Fix won on a controversial call, and now it's the flip side. But yeah, as the picture shows on your laptop, it was a headgear grab, and you hate that for Dayton because Dayton Fix is one of those special wrestlers who he could win 4 national titles. He could be like Pat Smith, John's brother, who won 4 national titles. He has that ability, and I would hate to have to wrestle him next year because he is going to be.
When Suriano faced him next year. By the way, Suriano is the exact opposite of Dayton Fix. He's not humble. His dad was yelling at John Smith. Maybe the worst decision of a human could ever make is yelling at John Smith. But I'm with you. Dayton Fix is going to be a monster next year. I don't think Dayton Fix would say that I don't think he wants to win that way or lose that way, but I would watch out for Dayton Fix next year. And I will be honest with you, I think it was taken away from him. I absolutely do. Yeah.
You look at that picture right there, kind of says it all. You don't know. Now, it's not a guarantee that Dayton goes on and win.
Right.
It's still the match still is gonna go on. It's not like if they call that headgear grab, Dayton wins. But he was about to get a takedown. That's the thing. He was moving around to the backside of Suriano, and the only thing keeping him from doing that is the headgear grab. Because Fix literally went from it looks like he's about to get 2 points to all of a sudden he gets caught up, and then boom. And you could tell just the immediate reaction from the coaches. Esposito was, I think, even maybe going more crazy than Coach Smith. And so, any national championship, you don't want it to be decided like that. Whether Fix deserved to win or Suriano decided to win, you don't want it to come down to a controversial call where, it's just kind of the facts. He grabbed his headgear. It shouldn't have. Those points should have been taken away.
Well, it is what it is. But I'm with you. Dayton Fix is going to be, and that's what's good about Dayton Fix is something like this. Sometimes that affects people in a negative way. I think that's going to make Dayton Fix even more of a monster, which is a scary thought going into a sophomore season. But the Cowboys finished 3rd overall. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about Cowboy wrestling. Can't wait for wrestling to start next year. We're going to take a quick break, make a call to the bullpen. Jason and Barrett are going to come up and talk about Mike Trout getting paid a ridiculous amount of money. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to the bullpen. You see Trout getting dirty right there for that out. That's a rich man right there, Barrett.
Yeah, he just got paid a lot of money.
We'll get to that later, but we're heating up.
Yeah.
Where the takes are hot and or the pitches are hot and the takes are hot. Barrett, that's the second show in a row that I've got that wrong. I feel very bad about it.
Just practice.
I got to practice a little more in the mirror. So we're going to get to Trout later, but I want to start off with Ichiro Suzuki.
Yeah, absolute legend.
Absolute legend. And the team that's on pace to go 162-0 in the majors, the Seattle Mariners. They went to Tokyo, take on the A's. They 2-game sweep. They're, you know, it was close games. They were good games, but obviously the spotlight was on Ichiro.
Yeah. There's a lot of attention on that throw he had.
That throw from right field to third base did not hop.
On the money.
Perfect.
Just, yeah, absolute perfect.
It made me feel like he was young again.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-time great. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Easily. First ballot Hall of Famer. Over 3,000 hits in his MLB career.
3,089 hits.
Yeah, just in his MLB
Just in
career.
MLB. And I also looked, because, you know, I'm a big Ichiro fan. 1,278 hits in his time in Japan. That's a total of 4,367 hits and 28 total seasons of play.
And that's...
holy smoke.
That is a lot of hits. He's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it's sad to see, you know, him go. Him at the end of his career, but I mean, watching him as a kid was absolutely incredible. I mean, and you saw the reactions of, you know, when he came off the field and all that cheering, and I forget his name, but there was another young Japanese baseball player on that team.
Oh, Kikuchi.
Yeah, when he hugged Ichiro, he started bawling. He was, you could tell that's a player that you know, that's
respected
probably
him.
He looked up to him.
Looked up to him
as a kid. He's probably the reason he played baseball. So
yeah, he might have been like a passing of the torch.
Yeah,
I mean,
he as you can look, greatest foreign-born player of all time in the MLB. I think so.
That's an interesting debate. Look, we're gonna get into a little bit. So he Rookie of the Year, 10-time Gold Glover, 10-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, and an MVP. Is he the best foreign player to ever play in Major League Baseball?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some big names. You know, people like I have Roberto Clemente, Rod Carew, Pedro Martinez. Those are the bigger names to come from Puerto Rico, Panama, and Puerto Rico, respectively. So, I mean, there's a lot of debate. Pedro Martinez, they've all had great careers. I mean, I don't like Pedro Martinez very much, but you can't douse the career that he's had.
He was great.
He's a great player. Rod Carew, also very great. I mean, they're all great players.
I think Ichiro stands out just because. I mean, it's tough because, you know, everyone says, you know, what if he were in the MLB from the beginning of his career? Because he dominated in Japan, so it's tough. But I do think he is the best. Just the number of hits, the consistency. He was an all-star the first 10 years of his career. Obviously, Roberto Clemente, I would say him and Pedro Martinez, maybe even like Albert Pujols up there. But I think he's got the edge on all of them. I think he's one of the best, not just foreign. I think he's just one of the best ever. Maybe that's top.
Your opinion, yeah.
Top 15.
Top 15. Okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Probably top 10.
It was a real class act by the Mariners
really
to let Ichiro play those 2 games in Tokyo, to be in front of the crowd that admired him, that have admired him for the past almost 3 decades.
Yeah, they love him over there.
They can't get enough of Ichiro.
Yeah.
He didn't get a hit. He walked, struck out, but he was a run scored. That throw.
And that
throw sent
immaculate.
the crowd like wild. It was a lot of energy. It was a lot of, you know, what I love about baseball.
Yeah.
I love the fans. I love, you know, seeing Ichiro go home and play those 2 games. He'll still be with the team. He's going to be in the front office. But it was electric.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it. I was watching it at 9 in the mornings, you know, clapping, shouting. I'm sure my neighbors and the mailman that showed up during it weren't too happy with me, but, you know, I couldn't get enough of what I was seeing.
Yeah, I mean, He's one of my favorite players ever. He's just incredible to watch, absolutely incredible. As a kid, he was just always someone that was just everyone liked
He
him.
did everything. He could do everything.
He was so versatile, and he was just such a likable human.
It's sad seeing him go.
It really is. So, but I mean, it was great while it lasted.
Much love from the bullpen.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to, I guess you could say, the future of the Major League Baseball. Mike Trout
could be the best player of all time.
I think he's a generation kind of player, kind of like
is.
LeBron in the NBA.
Yeah.
Mike Trout.
He has been. People don't realize how dominant he's been.
Yeah.
But his contract, a lot of money.
Whole lot of money.
I think might be crazy. I think he deserved more.
Barrett, that's a 12-year, $426.5 million contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
He will be in the Angels Stadium of Anaheim until 2030. That is a long time.
Yeah, but it's kind of surprising because he kept on saying he's gonna wait until free agency.
Something
and then
must
all of
have
a sudden,
happened.
just out of the blue, just 12 years.
I don't know. We all know that Trout is a big Philly guy.
Yeah.
He loves the Eagles. Did Bryce Harper kind of, rub him the wrong way by calling him out, saying, "Hey, come to Philadelphia" or something like that?
I don't know what happened there. I mean, it was always all this speculation. Everyone's like, "Yeah, he's going to Philly. Like, he's just waiting, and then boom, no, he's not.
Extension.
He's staying." And maybe he doesn't like Bryce Harper. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not many people.
This had to have, of course, happened during our spring break.
Yeah.
Where we couldn't have talked about it earlier, but here we are. Barrett, when this extension came out in the news, I immediately texted you.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what I said in that text message?
No.
It's all right. You're having fun at spring break. I said that the Angels will not win a championship with Trout.
Yes, I do remember.
Even with this extension.
Definitely not within the next three years.
I can't see it in the next 12. I can't.
It's too hard to predict for me.
12 years is a long time, but
they still have Ohtani.
They have Ohtani as a bright spot, but these contracts that they have.
But Pujols will be up.
2021 is Pujols.
Before
that's when he's gone.
Once he's gone, they're going to have 10 more years of Trout.
I can't see Pujols signing anywhere again. Especially not with the Angels. I think the Angels might be done.
Yeah, maybe somewhere small.
Maybe he'll go home to the Cardinals again.
Yeah, 1 year.
I
don't know if they want
maybe
him.
one game like Ichiro.
Yeah, I don't know if they want him though. Cardinals might be good this year.
Cardinals don't sleep on the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Especially and back to the contracts. They have Justin Upton. That's another contract that's eating away at them. He signed a 6-year in 2016. That's up in 2022. He's got $72 million in the next 3 years.
If they don't make more contracts like that, if they don't make more dumb contracts like that, I think have a legit
They
chance.
need to start getting pieces here.
They really do. I think the next 2 or 3 years they're gonna be bad, and then once they get rid of those contracts, they're gonna start
getting what they need.
They're gonna actually start being
a real club. Being an actual team.
Yeah.
Mike Trout is stunning.
Mm-hmm.
They have only made the playoffs with him in his career once.
Yeah.
And they were swept by the Royals in the ALDS in 2014.
Yeah, I know. It's depressing to watch.
It was not a good time for them. That's
he is. I mean, watching him play is absolutely incredible. Like, it's like he does whatever he wants. It's absurd.
2-time MVP.
Yeah.
He could have been more.
He could have been every year.
Could have been almost. He was in the running every year.
Yeah. He probably could win MVP the rest of his career, but even when he's 35, 40, even when he's 40,
the contract will be up when he's 38.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe he'll play again. We don't know. This is the contract extension hasn't even started yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't do something soon, they've set up it's like a chessboard.
Yeah.
They've set up the queen. It's Mike Trout. Now they need to get the bishops. They got to get the pawns.
Who's the king?
Who's the king? I guess you could say the guy, the general manager who got him the extension could be the king. I think I'm not a big chess player, but I think the queen is the important piece.
Well, I mean,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot for the chess.
Let's talk about this a different time.
Yeah, we'll figure out the chess analogy at a different time.
Okay.
But this is it.
Mm-hmm.
This will make or break the Angels.
Yeah. I agree. It's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be, I don't know. Well, it's either gonna be fun to watch or it's gonna be just an absolute mess. And that the Angels have been known to be a mess for the past couple of years.
I'm rooting for him.
I'll root for them, yeah, but I'm rooting for
him.
Trout.
Yeah,
Trout's the guy I'm rooting
and
for.
Ohtani. I like Ohtani.
No one really wanted. I don't want to say no one, but both of us didn't really want Trout to go back to the Angels, but here we are today.
I didn't want to go to the Phillies though, so
yeah, that's fine. So it looks like the skipper's walking out to the mound. A little bit of a pitcher change here. Thanks for watching the bullpen here on 1-on-1. Reed and Logan will be back for more. Thanks for watching.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past.
Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis.
You can do anything.
With nearly 100-degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
Welcome back into 1-on-1 on Southern Channel 12. Right there you see Rob Gronkowski in his last game as a New England Patriot. Last game as a player in the National Football League. 9 seasons for Rob Gronkowski. 3 Super Bowl rings, 5 Pro Bowls, 79 touchdowns, 12 postseason touchdowns. That's only second behind Jerry Rice. 521 receptions, nearly 8,000 yards, and 79 touchdowns. First ballot Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I mean,
Absolutely.
There's no way to say that Gronk is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I don't know that he's officially done. Because his agent,
I saw this.
Comes out and says, I don't know. I don't know. Rob is 29. This is a quote from Drew Rosenhaus. Rob is 29 years old. He's still very young. It wouldn't shock me if he has a change of heart, and if he feels great, he decides that he wants to play football. But this is just me talking. This isn't Rob, and I don't want to create any unnecessary expectations. Rob is a very unique personality. If the team was struggling or they needed him at some point next year, and let's say hypothetically Tom Brady gave him a call and said, Rob, I need you, I wouldn't be shocked if he came back to play a few games. It sounds like there's
It sounds like he's coming back
here in Rob Gronkowski's mind. But I don't want to see Rob Gronkowski retire because I'm a football fan.
Yeah.
I don't mind seeing the Patriots not win so much with him anymore, but I'm all right with him retiring because it was evident that his body could not take it anymore.
Yeah.
The toll had been taken on Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, for sure. You said he's only played 9 seasons, but it seems like he's played 2 careers worth of injuries. He hasn't been healthy, it seems, ever. The leg, the back, whatever it is, he's never. It seems like whenever he plays a full season, it was once every what, like 3 years or 4 years he went without getting any kind of injury. So you know, I'm glad he's decided to call it quits to save what's left of his body. You know, when you have to wear what's basically a second arm out there.
Yeah, and he's had to wear that
for many years. He was injured in college too before he.
Well, that's why he slipped to the second round. He had back surgery.
Right. Now I want to ask you this, Reed, because I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say about this. Is Tony Gonzalez the greatest tight end of all time, or is it Rob Gronkowski?
It's Rob Gronkowski.
Okay. The Atlanta Falcon great Tony Gonzalez is not the greatest tight end of all time.
You know, I have several autographed Tony Gonzalez items, and every time I look at them, I just get angry because of the way he treats the Kansas City Chiefs franchise post-career. He tries to backtrack. You're going to get me started on this. But here's the thing. You can't say, well, hey, he's played with the greatest quarterback and the greatest coach of all time. You can't. It doesn't work that way. No, well, it does because you go off strictly numbers. He reached numbers 5 years faster than some guys. He's only played 9 seasons. And with that, Logan, he's been hurt a lot of that time. And he still has ridiculous numbers. He has 3 Super Bowl rings. He has been a big part of what the New England Patriots have tried to do over the last decade. He's been incredible. Like I said, as a football fan, sad to see him go. As not a Patriots fan, ecstatic that he will no longer be there.
Yeah.
But everyone's waiting for the beginning of the end of this Patriots run, right? And they're going to miss him. I really do think that they will miss him a lot next year because he was Tom Brady's go-to. He was his security blanket just as much as Rob Gronkowski, or not, obviously, as much as Julian Edelman was over the last few years. So they are going to miss him, but he is undoubtedly the greatest tight end of all time by far.
Yeah, that's kind of where I landed on it too. I wanted to know what your thoughts on that were, but yeah, I wonder what it could have been if he didn't have those injuries. You know, this year was his first bad year, and by bad, he just didn't have the outstanding numbers that he normally has. He was a really great blocking tight end, as everyone kind of mentioned throughout the season. He became a really good blocker. And, I mean, only 3 touchdowns. The last time he had anything close to that in a season. I mean, he never had that in a season where he played more than 10 games. A couple of years ago, he played 8 games, had 3 touchdowns, but obviously only played in half the games. And then before that, 2013, he had 4 touchdowns, only played in 7 games. So, you know, when he was healthy, he was good for double-digit touchdowns, it seemed, every year. It seemed he was good for, you know, close to 1,000 yards as a tight end, which is
5 more
wild.
Touchdowns than Antonio Brown in that time frame, and he was hurt a lot more.
A lot of it.
A lot more than Antonio Brown was.
Yeah. So,
absolutely incredible career for him.
Yeah.
I mean.
And, you know, he was funny. He was great for, you know.
Well, he's not. Listen, he may not be on the football field anymore.
Oh, he'll be somewhere.
But he will be.
The booth? Monday Night Football?
I don't know that anyone would risk putting him in the booth. Because, listen, you put, you know, not Tony Romo's good in the booth, but you put Jason Witten in there, and it's not, listen, there wasn't any bleep buttons. They didn't have to pay any fines, but it was bad because there wasn't a great analysis. The common misconception is that Rob Gronkowski is just some stupid frat boy who is immature. Listen, he's a very fun guy, but the notion that he is stupid is very misguided. He has saved all of his money.
Yeah.
He is not going to go broke like many people think. He is very intelligent. I don't think that they can put him in the booth because he is kind of that too many jokes.
I think that'd be great.
Too many jokes. Yeah. But he will be on TV doing something, whether it's a game show or if it's reality TV. He won't even do it for the money. He'll just do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
He's only 29 years old. He's 8 years older than you, Logan.
He's so much better at me at everything. That's
well,
so sad.
He's never hosted one-on-one.
He hasn't, but we should have him on.
Hey, he's retired now. He's got the time. I'm sure he would love to fly into Stillwater, Oklahoma for a one-on-one.
Yeah.
He may buy a retirement home here. You just never know. But absolutely, he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But the quote I read you from Drew Rosenhaus, do you think he will come back at any point?
No. I hope not.
Even if Tom Brady calls.
I hope not. Because how much longer is Tom Brady going to be around?
Well, he outlived or outplayed Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
I mean, Tom Brady's going to live till he's 112. He's got the TB12 method. I mean, he may play till he's 60.
Maybe. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it being worth it to Gronk. Unless they're like
I think it'll be
go win a Super Bowl.
Hard for him if they, if they're going into Week 12 and they're going to be the #1 seed, and Tom Brady to call him and say, I really need you to win a championship. I absolutely need you to be on my team. It's going to be hard for Gronkowski, especially if he's feeling well, to say, no, to a guy who he was going to retire last year if they traded him.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, he's incredible. I can't say it enough. The greatest tight end of all time. I think he surpassed Tony Gonzalez a long time ago. But there's Travis Kelce coming up, so no, I'm just kidding. He's got a long way to go to be Rob Gronkowski. But they were playing, while we were gone on spring break, they were playing some softball and baseball here in Stillwater. The Cowboys had a bit of a rough midweek game to Dallas Baptist, ended up losing by a couple of runs, but they come back for the first Big 12 series of the year against K-State, and they sweep the Wildcats. We talk about always wanting those sweeps over teams that you need. That's a good way to start the Big 12 season. They have the Sooners coming into town on Wednesday, but that's and OU's a pretty good baseball team this year, but that's a pretty good way to start Big 12 wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's how you want to start it. Like we said, and we were worried coming into Big 12 play if they could get these sweeps against teams like the Kansas States, and I don't think they'll be able to sweep OU, but
never know.
You hope. But this was a great series. I believe their closest game was they won 5-4, and it seemed like they had just been not on cruise control, but it seemed like they had kind of found their rhythm, and they're playing the kind of baseball they want to play right now, which is really good. This is probably the time you want to start picking it up as you get into conference play, and hopefully they can ride this momentum throughout conference play and into the Big 12 tournament.
Well, the Cowgirls, they kind of go a little cold at the plate.
Yeah.
They go down and they lose 2 to Ole Miss. They beat Samford, but then they lose to Tulsa on their way back. And Tulsa, a team they've really struggled with. They have Wichita State on Wednesday, a team that they've already beat this year. But they go cold to plate. Then down in Waco, in 5 innings, they win 21-2, tying the school record for runs in a game. 21 runs is pretty good. They could have used some of those runs on Saturday because they do lose game 2, but they take 2 out of 3 in Waco. Baylor, a team that was ranked early on the season, not ranked now, but 2 out of 3 is not bad for a competitive team in the Big 12.
Right, and I think it's a nice little bounce-back series. You would have liked to see a sweep, especially after a 21-2 win. You go out in the next game and lose 1-2, but hopefully it's a little bit of a bounce-back. Hopefully they've solved their issues at the plate. I would think so. If you can score 21 runs, I think you've kind of broken that little slump, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad weekend overall. I mean, the Cowboys sweep K-State, the Cowgirls do a lot, but a lot went on in the sports world. I mean, we almost too much to get into today. And we had our bullpen segment. Do you think Mike Trout is worth that? I know
I think he's worth more.
You were like, Barry, he's not worth more money. If walking down the street in Stillwater, would you know Mike Trout?
I would.
You're paying a guy $500 million.
But I would pay to go see him play baseball.
Would you, though?
I would. I would rather go see him than anyone else.
Well, it's going to take a lot of $4 outfield tickets to pay off Mike Trout. I'm with Jason. They're never going to win a championship. With Ohtani, with Trout, just not going to happen in LA. But we're going to take a 47-hour break. We will be back on Wednesday to talk about everything going on in the NBA, maybe get about that greatest buzzer beater I've ever seen from last night. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. Thank you for watching 101. Thanks to Wade Hagen as well. We will see you Wednesday.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.